What's up, everybody? Welcome back. A twofer here, kind of a threefer for today because we also had the podcast this morning. It's late, so we have no idea how this is going to go. It's probably going to end past my bedtime. So who knows where this video is going to go, but we are going to react to Lori Vallow's jailhouse interview with Nate Eaton. And we have a pretty fun announcement I'll try to remember to make kind of in the middle of this video about something that's going to happen tomorrow. So everybody hit that like button. Everybody subscribe to our page. This interview was weird. We'll have some thoughts. We'll talk about it. If you guys have questions, I'm sure you're going to just have comments and reactions, which we'll go through as well. Maybe a little bit of a different vibe of a video, seeing as how the content is about to go in front of you here from Lori Vallow. But let's get to it. So let's see. What's the best way? Should I just go small here? Let me see. Is that better than this? I don't know. What's the better format? We can do this. So we can watch together here on the big screen. Nate Eaton gets the interview with Lori Vallow. He does a little intro on his video. I encourage everybody to go watch it on his channel, the East Idaho News channel, or his own channel. And hit the like button on it, all that, because he puts in a ton of work on this, and he is the guy that needed to do this interview, in my opinion. He said people were mad that he didn't go hard enough or that he interviewed her at all. Listen, what I have to say about this is information is something we can all learn from. I'm not interested in making her famous or, helping her out in any way, but I am interested in the truth and closure for the victims in the case, to see what she has to say. And then she's going to have a lifetime, or as she says, 7 lifetimes going into oblivion in prison. So she will have her time for that. At this point, if there's anything good that can come from it, any positive change that can come in anybody else's lives, if we can learn how to deal with difficult people in our life or to see red flags for them coming, I'm all for it. I'm all for learning information, but is this weird? And it starts out with a bang. So here we go.
How are you? You ready?
Yeah, already ready to go. Oh, okay. Hi.
Good to see you.
Nate, such a pleasure.
Have a seat.
People also wanted him to scream at her or something. I don't really know. The only point you get anything interesting out of her or any information is to be kind-ish, right? I mean, he definitely throws some stuff out there. But you can't just be screaming at her or be a jerk from the first second, or she's not going to say anything to you. So there's no point in even doing the interview. I watched it. I personally think he did a great job interviewing her. I do. I think he took the shots where he needed to, but he really tried to play clear out, that kind of offense, like isolation offense, and then just try to let her cook and tell us what she wants to say. And we learned a lot about Lori Vallow in this interview.
I'm kind of coming, huh?
It has been. Happy birthday.
Oh, thank you. Yes.
So I want to start with Chad.
Okay.
You told me yours ago.
Today is my birthday.
Today is your birthday.
How old do you think that I am?
52.
Oh, how did you know?
I do my.
So he said happy birthday. He starts talking about Chad. She interrupts him and said, today is my birthday. How old do you think I am? 52. Now listen to what she wants to lead with, okay?
Research.
You must know a lot.
Yes.
The girls are like, are you turning 25 in my pod? And I was like, no, I'm turning 25 plus 25 plus 2.
There you go. So
Do the math.
You told me yours ago.
That, folks, is what you call a humble brag. The girls in my pod think I'm turning 25. And I'm like, it's 25 plus 25 plus 2. It's like, that was the first woof moment of the interview. And we're like 2 minutes into it.
Years ago, Chad was the best man you've ever met.
Chad is a very kind person, yes.
Is that still true?
Yes.
So besides his spirituality, what else attracts you to Chad?
He's a wonderful person. Everyone who knows him knows that. You've never met him, right?
I haven't met him other than when we were in Hawaii.
I'm saying you never met him, talked to him, interacted with him, or
No,
yeah.
no. How often are you able to talk with him?
So we aren't really speaking.
By your own choice, or just because it's not allowed from prison to prison?
Yeah, the way that the mail works here is very difficult.
I see.
So we're only allowed
They're also co-conspirators.
to get postcards. Like you can't send a letter to the jail itself, and so there's difficulties within that.
But you still love him,
Absolutely, yeah,
and you've said you'll be exonerated, and he will too.
absolutely, we will.
Will that be before he's executed?
Yes, Nate, before he's executed. You're well aware.
And So Nate did that a couple times. Nate did that where he was like, okay, so he is going to get exonerated before or after he's executed, because that's what he's waiting for, because he got the death penalty. And she's like, yes, Nate, before, obviously. So he did throw some shots like that in there that she for sure picked up on.
Too.
Absolutely. We will.
Will that be before he's executed?
Yes, Nate, before he's executed. You're well aware, I know that you are LDS as well as I am, right? And you're well aware that the 3 Nephites in 3rd Nephi 28 were given the death penalty 7 times. They were arrested after Jesus.
7 times they were given the death penalty. 7 times. A couple people said too fast. I'll drop it down a little bit, but this is as far down as I'm going. So you guys can slow it down on your end.
This personally translated them. Okay. They were arrested, convicted, and given the death penalty 7 times. And where are they today?
I don't know.
They're still wandering the earth.
Yeah.
They didn't get executed.
So
They didn't get the death penalty. And there's 220 people in this country who have been on death row and have been exonerated and gone home.
do you think it'll be soon then?
There are definitely people, I don't know if it's 220 people, there are definitely a lot of people that have been on death row, too many that have been on death row and get exonerated. No doubt about it, from my perspective. No doubt about it. Do we think that's going to be Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell?
I think it'll be in the Lord's time. I know that it will be in the Lord's time. And when you say the word soon, if you've ever watched The Chosen or dealt with Jesus at all, you know that soon is a relative term, because 1,000 years are a day to him.
So does it bother you though that in Chad's trial he blamed it on you and Alex?
So
Like, Nate, I'm not laughing. It's not a funny, by the way, it's late. Okay, I'm tired. But how Nate does this interview makes me laugh a couple times, because she's not talking anything about that. And Nate's like, oh, okay, yeah, that's a good point. About, a day being 1,000 years. Did it bother you that Chad said you did it? Did that bother you or no? I thought that was great.
now that I know the judicial system, and now that I have been my own attorney and how things work, and I've said this before in an interview, it's so different what goes on behind the scenes in a high profile case. Okay, there's strategies going on, there's defenses going on, there's all these things going on that you wish, like, why can't we just go in and tell our side of the story? The attorneys are like, you can't do that. We have to come up with a defense, and we have to do this, and we have to do this. And like, why do we just go? Why isn't it, you thought, like, if you've never been in the judicial system, which I hadn't before, you thought they get to tell their side of the story, what they think happened. You get to go in and tell your side of the story of what happened, and then the jury gets to decide. And that's not what happens. That's not what happens at all. And
Well, it depends on the case. Like, there absolutely are situations where one side tells their story, you tell your side of the story. Now, but also sometimes I'm sure I've had clients that have felt this way, where I'm like, we can't tell that side of the story. It's not true. That's not what the evidence shows. Like, this is what we're dealing with. Do you really want, like, we just can't do it that way. And so sometimes it does feel like they're not getting to tell their side of the story, but it's not really what it is in these situations. And another thing that, like, a real tip or thing that I thought of is, now that she's seen this, what happened in Chad's trial, what happened in Arizona, now that she's been her own lawyer and understands the legal system, would she have let her lawyers point the finger at Chad? I don't know. Would she have changed her mind? I'm sure she would say no, because everything's going according to plan, I guess, but interesting.
it's so sad and disappointing that that's.
So you
the
think
way
Chad,
that it
they had to
goes.
come up with a defense just to have one in court? You don't think he really believed or blamed all of this on you and Alex?
Absolutely. And I know that for a fact because John Pryor came and told me that prior to trial.
He did. He said, this is going to be our defense.
That's wild. John Pryor came and told her, hey, Chad doesn't want to point the finger at you, but we have to point the finger at you for trial. I'm just here letting you know. I don't know if that's true, obviously, but if it is, that's certainly wild.
Defense.
He said, I'm going to blame you, and Chad doesn't want me to, and he wants you to know that. And this is the kind of stuff that goes on behind the scenes that nobody sees, that nobody knows what's going on. There's so much stuff going on that you wouldn't even believe all the things that go on. The experts that are being paid, the things that are going on. We got this expert, we paid him $1 million to say the opposite of whatever your expert's going to say.
Zach Morris, timeout. The state paid $1 million for an expert in Chad Daybell's trial? Come on. I can't believe that that's true. I'm not going to call her a liar. Maybe $1 million over the lifetime to some company or something, like over 10 years, which is still a lot. But I cannot believe $1 million was paid to a state expert in the Chad Daybell trial. Grace Bay said, the rules of evidence are oppressing her, Peter. I will say, She ain't the only one that's felt that way in our criminal justice system, and I get it. It is a little mind-boggling knowing what we've kind of been through with Lori Vallow, what the evidence is against her, and from the perspective of watching a lot of these cases and seeing how the justice system works, and it's not perfect, but a lot of what happened to Lori Vallow, it's not the justice system's fault, I'll just say.
Like, what do you mean they paid him? The state paid an expert $1 million retainer to say whatever the opposite of what our state, what
in
our
Arizona
witness
or Idaho?
in Idaho was
Oh.
what our witness is going to say. And the attorney told me this, and I'm like, are you kidding?
But
Like,
you didn't have any witnesses.
we did. Yeah, in the buildup, we did.
It's like, what about all our evidence and all of our witnesses? He's like, which ones?
But then
We
you just-
absolutely
you didn't
did.
call him.
Well, there's reasons for that. That there's strategies involved. There's things going on, and you have no control when you have attorneys.
And that's
They're
why,
doing it how they want to
and that's
do
why
it.
you wanted to be your own attorney.
There's several reasons. The number one reason was because they wanted me to sit here for 5 years while they got to know the case, and I wanted a speedy trial.
Can we go back?
And this was interesting. So they want her to sit there for 5 years. She wanted a speedy trial. Okay. And I get that. And probably was a mistake. And listen, I highly doubt a lawyer said we got to sit here for 5 years, but they probably said, we need time to wrap our arms around this case, and we could probably fight it. And there were some holes in that Brandon Boudreaux trial. And there were some in the Charles Vallow trial. It wasn't perfect. Obviously, initially they thought it was self-defense. So if her lawyers could have wrapped their arms around it, maybe they for sure could have presented a better defense than she did. But later she talks about how in jail, they pull out your teeth. So you show up toothless to a trial when you're in jail waiting for your trial. And she didn't want that to happen. So it was more worth it for her to go to trial quick. I was like, whoa, I have never heard that one before.
Back to Hawaii. When I first met you and Chad.
And we didn't meet. You just put a microphone in my face.
Okay. When I
Now we've met.
we have met. You're right. Why didn't you just tell me where the kids were?
Because I was not ready to talk about it at all at that point. I was just not ready. It was very traumatic, and I was not ready for any of that.
Are you ready to talk now?
I have talked about it already. Yeah. I feel like a lot of things have happened in these last 5.5 years to give me strength through that tragedy that happened with my children. And I've been a lot more open in being able to talk about it now, and through therapy also, like some post-traumatic stress therapy, because it's traumatic. And I'm living in here with some beautiful, intelligent, smart women. And had I never come to Arizona, and I know God put me here for a purpose, because I didn't think Arizona was going to come and get me. In fact, I think you and I had a talk about that, because there was an article that came out in Idaho saying that Arizona was not going to come and extradite me until all my appeals were finished. Do you remember that?
Mhm.
And then my
It's
appeals,
like the next day that you were gone.
yeah, the next day they came and got me. And my appeals attorney was supposed to come. He had an appointment that day when they came to get me to drive down from Boise to Pocatello for us to have a meeting. And they didn't even tell him I was gone. Like, I was just gone that day. They came the next day. So I didn't think they were coming.
You mentioned
Somebody saying that's not the context of the tooth pull. I'll have to listen again. To it. I thought that connected, but maybe it didn't. And sure, they do pull your teeth in jail, but they don't pull your teeth so that you look like you have no teeth at trial. I thought that's what she was saying. Maybe I'm completely off base at that, because I was listening on 3 times speed and it's late and I feel like I could be asleep right now.
a tragedy, and you said that this has all been a family tragedy,
Yes,
and it has been a huge tragedy. All of
absolutely.
this.
Absolutely.
4 juries have said you and Chad and Alex caused the tragedy.
Yeah. That's the judicial system.
But how do you argue with that if all of this evidence came out that showed, that you, Chad,
The only evidence that ever came out is the evidence state wanted to put forth.
Well,
They
you could-
they
you could put-
manipulate the evidence to make it look how.
Well, that's every trial that when the state's case in chief is going on, they put the evidence, they put up their evidence, and then you have your opportunity.
Whatever they want.
But
And
you could
guess who
present
helps them?
evidence.
The media helps them, because from day one, when someone called you, okay, day one, whether it was Detective Hope or Detective Hermosillo, I'm not sure, called you and said, hey, Nate, Eaton, this is going to be the biggest story of your life. And they got that information from Heather Daybell. And Heather Daybell and Detective Hoper are connected, right? Because their kids got married. And they called and she said, oh, I have a story for you. These people killed their spouses so they could get married, which was totally a rumor,
I don't think that's
totally
true, Lori.
untrue. And then you ran with it and you got famous from it. And everybody knows what happened from there, right? So that's the way it goes. So the media put out their narrative. They kept on with it. The state went along with it. The state leaked stuff to the media
Okay, well,
to say
what's
what
false?
they wanted.
What's false about
Oh
the
my gosh,
narrative?
everything.
Your children were found dead in Chad's backyard. That's not wrong.
That's
Kylie was chopped up and burned. That's
No.
not wrong.
no, that's all mixed up. That wasn't.
I saw photos of JJ wrapped in plastic and duct tape. That wasn't wrong.
Okay.
This is where he holds her to it, right? And those are tough things to look somebody in the eye and say. So I give him credit for that.
I understand what you're saying of those facts. Those facts in and of themselves are wrapped around a whole lot of untruth.
About how they ended up there.
Correct.
So if Tylee killed JJ and then felt bad and committed suicide, how did she die first?
She didn't.
She didn't?
That's part of their whole fake narrative. That's
Who
part.
burned her and chopped her up?
That's part of everything that they were doing. So I don't really want to get into all of those details with you because you obviously are very set in your mind. I'm not here to change people's minds.
I want you to change my mind. I'd love to hear any evidence or facts you have that might make me think, you know what, they have it wrong, but I haven't heard anything otherwise.
That's because you've been pushing this narrative for 5.5 years. You're not telling me that your mind is not set on what it is already?
Minds can change.
They could change if they're open to change.
Right.
Okay. So miracles are on the way. And you remember I asked you to watch a movie?
Yes, Evan Almighty.
I did. And did you watch that?
This was another wild part. Like she asked him to watch Evan Almighty to compare him to the reporter in Evan Almighty, who it's the story of Noah who built the ark when there was no rain and no flood. The rains come, the flood comes. Everybody called him crazy before it came. And then voila, everybody understands that he was right. God told him to build the ark. And Evan Almighty is basically that story interpreted in a comedy. And there's a reporter who doesn't believe until the waters are there. Then, of course, he believes. And basically, Lori's like, I'm Noah, and you're the reporter. It's coming. I listened to this with my wife, and I looked at it, and I was like, what if it started raining and there was a flood and Lori Vallow built the ark? Like that'd be pretty wild, right? That'd be pretty wild.
That movie.
I did.
And did you identify yourself with the reporter in that movie?
I don't know if I identified myself with. Did you identify him with me?
Yes, absolutely.
So what does that mean?
Okay. So when did the reporter change his mind?
Remind me.
When he was floating in the flood on the ark. Okay. Not until God showed the miracle did his mind change. His mind was like, this is a crazy guy. He thinks he's like Noah. Why are you so crazy? He's pushing the narrative, right? He pushed the narrative. And then the flood came and he's the first one screaming and he's running for the ark because he had been pushing this narrative the whole time, right? This fake false narrative that this guy was crazy, that God didn't talk to him, that all these things have happened, right? That these weren't God things that happened, okay? So then he's the first one to get on there screaming. And when he's floating down the river on the flood, is when his mind was changed. So when you're open to changing your mind, I will be happy to enlighten you to the things of God.
Well, I would love to hear what you have to say. I wish we had more than 30
I wish
minutes.
we had more time too, because
Okay.
we could really get into it.
A couple of more questions for you, and then I know that you have some things you want to say. The night before Alex died, he told Zulema, I think I'm their fall guy. Was he?
No, absolutely not. And I don't think he ever said that. I watched Zulema.
That's a pretty coincidental timeline, right? With Alex, somebody said in the chat, do you think they'll reopen that investigation? Honestly, at some point, catch other criminals. Like we've caught this one, we've got this one. I get it. Victims, people that loved Alex, they deserve justice. But I mean, at some point, it's like they could probably convict her of it, right? At some point, if they were able to get into some other details too and say he was the fall guy for all these other things and bring in all the other crimes potentially. But I don't think so. Could be wrong, but I don't think so.
Go through probably 13, 14, 15 hours of detectives grilling her. I've watched the interviews. I've watched them all. And I watched her be berated by them, threatened by them, that they're going to arrest her, that she had a part in this, that she's a co-conspirator, and all this stuff until they got her to say exactly what they wanted her to say. And she made that up. She made up a lot of stuff. And I felt bad for her because I didn't want her arrested because she wasn't part of any conspiracy, because there wasn't any conspiracy. And I felt really bad for her. I do love Zulema.
Did you and Chad have anything to do with Alex's death?
No, absolutely not. We were very surprised. No.
What were you and Chad and Alex doing in the storage unit, moving the tire and the seat back and forth on the day that Brandon was shot at and the day after?
So that's so silly that is so there was stuff in my garage that I was starting to move into the storage unit. That's what we
I don't think Brandon thought it was silly, number one. And number two, listen to how she answers this question. There's just some stuff that we moved there and then we moved back and then some stuff that we need to move there. It's like, I'm not sure about that. What's up with the pebbles from Flintstone's ponytail? I really think it's pulled too tight. If you know, you know, LOL. She is talking cray, but I'm here for it. I'll just tell you every time, like when we see her in something like this, she very clearly went through a lot of trouble to look the way that she looks from her prison cell. Like pretty wild. Nate got more than Keith Morrison, to be honest. Yeah, I don't disagree with that. Nate did a good interview. I really like him. I agree. And so I'll just announce it now. I'm excited. I'm really excited. So this is a long time coming. I sent Nate in a DM on Twitter when I saw that he did this interview. I was like, you know, it'd be really cool is to bring you in and interview and talk to you about the interview. Interview you about the interview. So Nate Eaton is going to come on tomorrow afternoon, 2:30 p.m. Eastern-ish, onto the Lawyer You Know, onto this channel, and we're going to talk to him about what it was like to go to this jail, interview Lori Vallow, cover this case, finally get the chance to ask her these questions, what his reaction was, how weird it was, who else was in the room. There are so many details surrounding all of this that is in my mind more interesting than the interview itself. We're going to watch it here, obviously, and react to it fully ourselves. But I am basically more interested in what Nate Eaton has to say about interviewing Lori Vallow than what Lori Vallow has to say. That's kind of my vibe right now. Before I even heard the interview, I messaged him. I was like, let's talk about that. That would be really cool to talk about. Like, how did you get this? What did you think? Did you think about not doing it? So many questions for him. So you guys can write in, DM me on Twitter and stuff, some questions you may have for him. And we are going to talk to Nate Eaton tomorrow. I'm excited about that.
We were doing. And so I moved that stuff in there.
The tire on the Jeep?
I moved stuff that had been in there, just sitting in there. It had been sitting in there. So I didn't
Just calling it stuff.
have enough room to park. So I couldn't carry it. It was heavy. So I had Chad help me put it in. And the next day, Alex was like, where's all that stuff in the garage? And I was like, I went and put it in the storage unit. He was like, oh, I need that. So we went and got it. And that was it.
Can you see how, let's say you're not here. Let's say you're at home and you find out about this story and you do all your research. You go through all the court documents. You watch the trial. And you're watching another woman going through exactly what you're going through. Can you see how it sounds kind of crazy what you were saying? Like the fact that this was all a coincidence, or you were just moving stuff in and
Yeah,
out?
because the narrative has
He's like, I mean, from an outsider's perspective, you can understand how this seems kind of crazy.
trained the people.
But
The
if you
narrative
did
has
your
trained the
own
people.
research,
The narrative has trained the people. I have people come up to me all the time in the jail. I know everything about your case. I've watched everything. And they have every fact wrong.
but aren't you in
So-
isolation? Are you able to talk with other inmates?
Yeah, you have no idea what it's like in there. Okay, I'm in max security. I'm in PC, which I didn't choose to be, but they put me in there for safety reasons.
Tell me what PC means.
So, protection.
Okay.
Yeah. you have to-
Protective custody.
Protective custody, yes.
Okay.
And so I'm in a max pod with all the other women that are max. So there's like 8 women in my pod that are facing the death penalty. Okay. We're all in rooms in there, and we are all in there 23 hours a day. And we get 1 hour out a day to take a shower and clean our rooms. And that's how it is in there. But all of our doors have openings so we can talk to each other even through the doors. And so, yeah, so I'm not isolated. But when I am
I'm sorry, I couldn't contain it. Neo said, the flood would be evidence. That's a good point. And I think that she would have probably presented that in court if in fact it did flood. And she was right. I agree with that, Neo. That's a good point.
transported to court, like for my 2 trials, right? I'm with the women all day long that don't normally see me. So I'm friends with everybody in my pod, but other women will shout out to me that, oh, I know everything about you. I know everything about your story. And they've been so indoctrinated by the media and their narrative that they put out. And nobody was asking me what's happening. Nobody asked Chad
I tried
what was
to.
happening. Well, would you have listened then? You have to.
Absolutely. I wish you
You
and
need to be on the boat, Nate. Are you on the boat yet? Because when you're on the boat, Nate, I am going to be.
What does that mean? So what is she saying? He's like, I asked. I would have loved it. If you had legit evidence, that would have been the biggest story of all time. Think about the Karen Reed case. If Nate Eaton would have broken that Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell are actually innocent and somebody else did this to their kids, the world would come around them, and how horribly sad this was, and the devastation that has surrounded their entire lives with multiple spouses and ex-spouses and kids, this happening to them. I believe with everything inside me that Nate Eaton would have loved to break that story if it was actually true. But she says, are you on the boat, Nate? Are you on the boat? Meaning, do you believe me? Are you just going to believe whatever I have to say? Regardless of the evidence or anything else, are you just going to believe whatever I have to say? And when you get there, then I'll tell you what happened. And you can think back to some of the other people that were in her grasps, right? In her little groups or listening to her podcasts or whatever. Like, that's where she wanted you. She wanted you where whatever she was going to say, that was the truth. And that's the only time she would tell you the truth. That's how people in cults work. You want to know the truth? You've got to believe everything I say, then I'll tell you the truth. Because what makes it the truth? Because I said it. That's basically what she's saying when she tells him, are you on the boat before I can tell you? The lawyer you know meets the reporter you know. Yeah, that'll be cool.
Be happy to share all this stuff with you because miracles are on the way.
I wanted to.
Miracles are on the way. And when you're on the boat, that's why I sent you that last
video.
message. Well, I sent you the last message saying, when you're on the boat, you'll be ready.
So
When you're on the boat.
you say Jesus is your friend.
Absolutely.
Does he support cheating on your spouse?
We weren't cheating.
Does he support?
Another one. And Nate, and this is like a lawyer. Nate looks like a lawyer right now where he does not care what her answers are. He wants to ask the question. He wants all of us to hear his questions.
Killing your husband?
I didn't kill anybody ever.
Killing your kids?
I didn't kill anybody.
Killing
as
your
you know.
boyfriend's wife?
Okay. Was I in Hawaii when Tammy died? How did I kill her? Are you going to explain that to the world now? How did I do that?
Using your kids' money while they're dead.
Okay. All that is messed up too.
How
That's
did
all
how
lies.
did you rent that unit in Hawaii? With
That's
what
all
money?
lies. Chad rented it. I did not.
Chad
rent
didn't
it.
have any money until Tammy died.
Chad rented it with his own money.
Okay.
Chad was an author and a publisher and had his own company.
So
that's what I'm saying.
He
You're
made
getting
$30,000 a year.
no, but you're giving up facts that you don't. You're giving up whatever
How was Chad renting that when he made $30,000 a year? Come on.
the state put up. They don't put up the whole story, Nate.
And that's
They just put up tiny pieces to put together their own narrative. That's it. You don't know anything about our lives or how they were or what we were doing in the temple. What we were doing in the temple every single day.
while you were in the temple while Tammy was still alive. You were in the temple with Chad.
Several times, yes.
Right. So he's married to Tammy.
Correct. Tammy came to the temple with us too.
The three of you.
At some points, yes.
How many times?
Probably twice.
When is this narrative going to come out? When are you saying the full story is going to come out? Like your side, what really
So
happened?
I'm writing.
She's writing. That was a little information drop there that she is writing. So are we now expecting a book to come out from Lori Vallow, or this is where she tells it? Because everybody that's reading the book is not going to be on the boat, Lori. So how are you going to write it? And I know there's going to be people like this. And Nate said people were emailing him, so gross. Why give her a platform? It's really important if you can get information and start to understand the process and how people think and where they are. And if there's any rehabilitation, if you think there's a possibility of it with her family potentially seeing this and seeing where she is and trying to understand and get answers and get the why. Will that ever happen with Lori Vallow? It certainly seems like it's not now. But if it is, it's very important to understand these things for victims and their families. It really is. And people can't understand it. And again, anybody that does not agree with giving her a platform or whatever you want to call it, don't watch, don't listen, don't give it any attention at all. I totally respect that. I think that's everybody's individual decision. That's something that everybody has to make a decision on.
I'm writing it, and I'm going to write out every single thing from beginning to end so that people can really understand, because you can't understand what happened with Tylee and JJ unless you understand what happened to Tylee in her life. You have to know Tylee's whole story from beginning to end. And when you know what happened in Tylee's life, you start to understand. The understanding, the lights click on. But nobody has said that. This lady got up in Idaho. It was 1 year after I had been arrested, and it was going to be Tylee's birthday. And there was a lady in Idaho Falls, and they were having some kind of vigil. And it was on the news because I was in a pod by myself at Madison County, right? And I'm watching the news, and this lady comes on, and she says, oh, you know, it would have been Tylee's 18th birthday because she died 2 days before her 17th birthday. And then she said, it would have been Tylee's 18th birthday today. And if Tylee were here, she would be out with her friends, and she would be singing and dancing, and she would be doing all these things. And this is a lady who has never met Tylee, never knew her, never knew anything about her life or our life. And I was like, do you know how many of Tylee's birthdays we spent in the hospital with her screaming in pain while she's on morphine, and the morphine isn't enough to take away the pain?
Wait. Are you really blaming this all on Tylee?
No, absolutely not. I'm saying Tylee had a really hard life, and people don't
understand. So how does that tie
understand.
into her death and your son's death and Charles being shot and Brandon being shot at and Tammy's death?
Okay,
Her
all
illness.
those things connected, right? It's a domino effect. So in 2017, I was told by the Lord that I was going to become like Job and lose everything. Will I do this?
Story of Job, wealthy man, had everything, family, farms, money, respect, loses it all. Family all dies except for his wife, who, story goes, he maybe would have been better off if she died. That's a Bible joke. Lost all of his land and everything because God was testing him. Satan said, basically, you're so easy on Job. Of course, he's going to be nice to you. So basically, that's Lori in the story, that she's so great. Of course, she's going to be nice to you. She has everything. So then now the devil comes and takes everything away from her to see how she's going to respond. And Job doesn't get his family back necessarily, but he gets it all back at the end. And she's basically saying that's how it's going to happen for her with these miracles that are coming. There's a lot of people asking about Son of Sam type laws in Idaho. And I talked about this earlier with my dad with the Brian Koberger case. It seems like they do have a Son of Sam law that if she was going to profit off of this, the proceeds could be put to restitution for the victims. But I don't know enough about the Idaho Son of Sam law. I'd have to look into that more before I give you a real answer.
Job if I lose everything? And so this domino effect of things happened. This is all the Lord's doing. And guess what? He's going to come forward and tell it all. And I don't have to. But I am writing it all down for posterity. I am writing it all down because you know what he told me? You know what Jesus told me? He said, this is going to be real good scripture reading in the future. So if you go back and you read the scriptures and you find all these stories that were going, what do you think is going to happen? These are the last days, right? We believe that. You believe that, right?
When can I get a copy of this? Because I want to read it.
But you're going to, the whole world's going to get to read it. I'm working on it. I work on it every day.
Didn't
Jeff's
you-
like, what are you doing in there all day? I was like, I'm writing. It's coming to me. I'm writing.
When you were on trial in Idaho, didn't you say that Jesus was
Could
going
you just imagine what's in this book? Like, honestly, it's not going to sell. Nobody's going to want to read a book written by Lori Vallow. Let's be honest. Maybe not nobody, but like you can just imagine what that's going to be like. The mumbo jumbo that is going to be included in that book. I mean, come on.
going to be back before the end?
By the way, she keeps trying to like get him to agree. Like, we're the same, LDS. You believe that too, right? Come on, Nate, we're together in this. And he's like, can I read that book? Can I get a copy of that book? I'd love to read it.
At trial?
Okay, who said I said that?
I'm asking you, did you say
No,
that? You never
absolutely
said
not.
that.
I have never. Chad has never. We've never given a date or a time. The prophet.
July 20, where'd July 20th?
Somebody
come from?
made that up and put it on there. I have never said it. Chad has never said it. We've never had a date. We're going with what the prophet says. When President Nelson gets up and says, these are the last days, we need to prepare for the second coming. We need to gather Israel on both sides of the veil. That's what we were doing. That's what we were working on. And we wait for his timing. The Lord has his own timing. He's never early. He's never late.
Why has
His
Chad been
timing is
excommunicated?
great. So I think that was false too. That was mean. That was mean.
Excommunicated
Why was Chad excommunicated? That was mean. Okay.
him?
Absolutely.
Are you still a member?
As far as I know.
Okay. So Lori, if you could go back 6 years
Yeah.
ago,
Yeah.
June of 2019,
Okay.
would you change anything that's happened over the past 6 years?
Oh, that's a good question, Nate. I don't think I could.
Why is that a good question? Yes, I would change everything about the last 6 years. Everybody close to me would still be alive, including my kids. How does she not immediately say that? I don't get it. I really don't get it.
Because
could.
we were foreordained to do this mission, right? The Lord is using Chad and I right now, and this is what he's told us, as instruments in his hands. What do you think he's trying to teach the people, especially his people, his church? What do you think he's trying to teach his people right now while he separates the wheat from the tares? He has to have an earthquake. It has to be so detrimental. It has to be get everybody's attention. Our case has done that. And what is he doing with that divide? He calls it, you know what Jesus told me? He calls it the great divide. What do you think he's doing with it?
I don't know, but you've
He's teaching people not to judge. Don't judge something. You weren't there. You don't know what happened. Don't judge. That's what he's doing. And he's separating the wheat from the tares right now in his own house. And he's using Chad and I to do it.
So what if you end up going to Pocatello? And if
It's just not how any of that works, like at all. Whether you believe it or not, if you do believe it, it's just not how any of it works at all. It's just too much to go into, and it's too late.
few weeks
Yes.
and spending the next 30 or 40 birthdays
Right?
there behind bars.
That would be God's will, but I'll tell you right now, that's not going to happen.
It's not
It
gonna
is
happen.
not going to be 20 or 30.
2 seconds ago, she just said she doesn't know the date. It could happen any. God's time is perfect, right? He's never early, he's never late, but it's not going to be 20 or 30 or 40 years or whatever he said. It's like, well, which is it?
Years. No, it is not going to be 20 or 30 years. I will testify to that right now.
So if it's not, how about we meet every year on your birthday and we do a follow-up interview and you can give me the timeline?
Absolutely. I don't have a timeline other than what the prophet has said. Did you watch this last conference? Did you watch it?
Are you able to watch it in here?
No, but
You notice how he doesn't answer her questions? So lawyerly of him. He's like, I'll be the one asking the questions here. You'll be answering.
I
You-
was
you
at the
read it?
prison. At the prison, I was able to listen to it because on your tablet you have AM/FM radio, so you can
Oh,
listen to the
okay.
whole thing. So I got to listen to it the last time before I came. But they did have one. They have one. I think it's a 2023 conference on our tablet here. So I've watched it over and over. But all the prophets, all the apostles, everyone in the LDS church is saying, prepare. Gather Israel on both sides of the veil. I was going to the temple. I went to the temple every day for like 3 years. I was doing all Charles' family's work. I was doing all my family's work. I was gathering Israel on both sides of the veil. And Jesus came there. That's his house. And he talked to me and he told me that he needed me to do a mission for him. And this is what we're doing. And the media has turned it all around, but it was supposed to be, there's always a Judas. And I almost used to think of you as the Judas.
Me? Was I on the dark list?
He was the Judas. Again, totally misses the point of that story, or how that went. Judas wasn't like somebody who always hated Jesus. Like, I don't know that Nate Eaton hates Lori Vallow, but everything she says feels like a swing and a miss. Everything she says. Peter, wow. Andrea Burkhart, Mark Betterow, Judge Carroll, Michael Easter, Yannetti Nalessa, Ian Runkle, Nate Eaton, you're the MVP, but your tank must be empty. Thank you, Ann Whitney, John, and Kelsey. We're pushing through this week, Bev. I appreciate it. I appreciate all you guys being here. we go to Greece this weekend. So I'm looking forward to that, to chill, slow down a little bit. If they do have a Son of Sam law, we should all buy the book on behalf of the victims. That's a good point. That's something I could get behind potentially.
No, but this is what I'm saying. And I almost used to think of you as the Judas.
Me? Was I on the dark list?
No, but this is what I'm saying. There's a Judas. People think that Judas is a villain. Judas is not a villain. You know what Judas was? Judas was a vessel. Judas was a vessel for God's plan to come to fruition. And he told me the other day, it's coming to full fruition.
God did.
Yes. So when we are, just like he told Noah, who was what? Steve Carell in the movie, right? So God came there and talked to Steve Carell. Is that true? In the movie?
Yep.
And the media guy didn't believe him, right? This guy's crazy, right? God didn't talk to him, didn't tell him to do it, didn't tell him to build a boat, buy all those lots, make his wife mad, spend all his money, build a boat, because that whole thing was going to get wiped out, right? So God has told me lots of things, and this is one of the things that he told me. He's using us as instruments in his hands to separate the wheat from the tares.
Did you ever
And
think,
people are choosing. Do you know how many people have left the church over our case? Which, what does our case have to do with the church? Nothing. It has nothing to do with the church. We're not against the church.
did you ever think you'd have the title of convicted serial killer?
No, do I?
Well, for people,
I mean, I guess you could technically say that, but everyone in the world knows that I didn't hurt anyone. I've never hurt anyone in my whole entire life.
well, years ago, everybody I've talked to, your friends, family, say you were a great mom, so much fun, loved to dance, loved music, loved to travel. You were the light of the party. And here we are in a jail. How did you get from there to here?
God put me here for his purpose. And so you know who he needs? He needs somebody who's the life of the party, somebody who teaches the girls how to work out, somebody who teaches the girls how to have fun and dance and do all those things in this, the worst jail in the country. He needed somebody to come in to the worst jail in the country and strengthen these women. And I'll tell you what happened. We used to have this wonderful lady, and she used to come in, and she's from mental health. She used to come in on Tuesdays, and she'd be down there, and she's blonde, and she's really cute, and she's really fun. She's bubbly like me. And she would come down there, and she'd try to get the girls to work out and give them coping
Blonde, really cute, bubbly, and fun like me.
mechanisms and talk to them about stuff like that. And half of the girls didn't like her. They thought she was annoying, and they were waking her up and stuff like that. Because you know why? She wasn't one of them. She wasn't one of them. But you know what I have? I have 7 lifetimes. I have worse.
So you're on your
punishments.
7th life now?
No. I'm saying I got 5 life sentences in Idaho.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, yeah.
It's like I'm trying to keep up with you. I apologize. I thought we were going a different route there. You have 7 lifetimes because I don't really I don't know what you believe. She's like, no, 7 life sentences.
I've got another one here and another one here.
I was talking
pending.
about the multiple probations.
No, I'm talking about
Your
am-
sentences for.
I'm
right.
sentenced to 7 lifetimes right
Right.
now, basically.
Why didn't
right?
you tell all this to the police?
So
Why didn't you tell them all this when you were arrested? Explain this to them. God's told me to do this. Give your defense.
really, what happens to people when they say God told them to do something? They lock them up.
Well,
I'm locked up.
whatever the reasoning, if you really do think Tylee was responsible for this, why don't you tell the police? She had chronic pancreatitis. JJ had autism. All of
right.
these things.
All of these things.
Why didn't you
She
tell
was
the-
sexually abused by her dad from the time she was 3 years old and forced by family court to go to him.
All right. So I'm going to skip this part, especially because she says something about her other kids too that I'm not sure is true. But generally you get the point. She's saying that Tylee was abused. And so I'm going to try to skip through that part.
Be put in jail if I didn't abide by that.
All right. They're still talking about it.
Do bad things to you, mommy. And so Tylee was a nightmare. Charles thought she was a brat. I didn't discipline her. Then I was in the hospital with her, watching her scream and writhe in pain while she's on morphine because it doesn't work.
I've interviewed several jurors. You may have seen the interviews.
I haven't seen any juror interviews, none.
And-
I have no access. I'm in here 23 hours a day. I'm in max security. We don't have access to anything.
Well,
So I
they've
haven't
said
seen anything for a year and a half since I've been over here.
they've said
She said she watched the conferences and stuff and was able to listen to it. So it's kind of weird. She talks out of both sides. I'm interested to hear what the actual truth is. Problem is, if I didn't know the whole backstory, I would probably believe her. She's so confident. It's bizarre. She for sure is. It's wild to see all of this and see her represent herself and then see how her first trial in Idaho went, right? It's almost like that's where her gloves came off. Shout out to my sis, Purple Coconut. She lives in Greece. Ooh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
that they were disappointed that they wanted to hear from you, that you
Yeah.
didn't have a defense, especially in Idaho.
Okay, let me ask you a question. If I get up on the stand and Trina Kay's sitting there, or
Rob
what's her
Wood.
name? Lindsay Blake, Rob Wood, right? And they're sitting there. Are they going to let me tell Tylee's story on the stand? You know they're not. They're going to object every 2 seconds.
If it's relevant to
they're
the
never.
case.
I'm writing it out. No, they won't, because they don't want me to tell that story because it's opposite of their narrative. It crushes their narrative.
But
it
you-
crumbles their narrative.
But you,
It's never going to
but
be
you know,
what it
as
is.
a defense attorney,
Yeah.
you present your defense. So you would have witnesses that would come in.
You know, as a defense attorney, Nate said to her.
and would testify to the things you're saying and would give
I love
evidence
it,
to
Nate.
that.
You're just as naive as I was, and I love it because guess what? I found out as a defense attorney. This is what happened with Judge Boreski. This is what happened. They don't let you put on a defense. Do you know how many motions I had on, or not motions? Do you know how many exhibits I had on and get ready for us to present our case for the first trial? We had 33 exhibits. We put them up there. Trina Kay went up there. She gets to look at all your exhibits, right? This is how it works in law. She gets to look and see what all our things are, what we're putting up. Guess what I had? I had about 5 interviews with one of the cops who said, I have to get Lori on something. I have to find something to charge her with. I have him saying this on video.
Which cops?
Okay, Detective Moffat. Guess what happens? So I have 4 of those are my exhibits. I'm waiting for Detective Moffat to get on the stand. The state says they're going to put on Detective Moffat. Guess who they don't put on at all?
Moffat.
Detective Moffat. They go around you, and then the judge didn't let me put in one exhibit, not one.
What if you had
He didn't
waived-
let me put one exhibit on.
What if
not
you had
one.
waived your right to a trial, though, and given your legal team another year or so to go through all of that? Don't you think that would have helped your case?
No, not at all. Because guess what my team said? They said he wouldn't have let us put it on either. There's so many jobs, so much political aspiration going on behind the scenes in a high profile case. There is no way in heaven that they were going to let me get up there and win as a pro per client. Because you know what? It's like a virus in here. Do you know these girls that are treated so bad by their defense teams that are making $1.5 million a year while they sit here for 8 years, 10 years waiting to go to trial? There's girls in here that have been here for 10 years. Do you know what happens when you have a toothache in this jail? They pull out your teeth. So tell me how it's not prejudicial for you to go into trial with 5 of your teeth missing and you look like a homeless person and the jury's there judging you, right? And because you've been sitting in a jail that doesn't have any dental for you for 8 years waiting to go to trial.
You mentioned a virus.
Seems like that was kind of connected to her comment earlier, 5 years. I'm going to stand by what I said, but whatever. If it wasn't, whatever. But, and I agree with you. It's not great, but it's jail, right? Number one, they don't just keep everybody in jail. There are reasons if you're sitting there without bail or if your bail is so high. Usually if you're sitting in jail for this long waiting for your trial, your defense lawyer is not making $1.5 million a year. I could be wrong about that too. But it's like, yeah, the look on your face is priceless. You're not buying what she's selling. It's everything that she does is woe is me. I have it so hard. It's all stacked against me. It's all so impossible. It's so unfair. But then on the other side, she's like, this is right where I'm supposed to be. I wouldn't change anything. I'm a vessel. The Lord told me the water's coming. Get on the boat, Nate. It's like, which is it? You know, it's like, which is it? Is this so unfair? Should it have all been done differently? It's just it's a weird way of thinking, but also not for somebody like Lori Vallow. You know, it makes complete sense that this is how she looks at everything. And this is her explanation to everything. She would be torn apart on the stand by Trina. Oh, Trina would have loved it.
Were you really?
So there's like a little technical.
Let me get up there and win as a pro per client. Because you know what? It's like a virus in here. Do you know these girls that are treated so bad by the year while they sit here for 8 years, 10 years waiting to go to trial? There's girls in for you.
I'm going to
Put on you. And then the judge didn't let me put in one exhibit, not one.
What if you had
He didn't
waived-
let me put one exhibit on.
What if
not
you had
one.
waived your right to a trial, though, and given your legal team another year or so?
He meant a speedy trial there. Like, give them more time to prepare the case and actually get it done right. Wouldn't that have helped you? Why didn't you just do that?
To go through all of that.
Okay, everybody, hold up. For some reason, about that here, I think, and
Bad about anything that's a really broad
It is a broad question. About the past 6 years. Any? Do you feel bad?
Do
about
I have
this?
bad feelings about anyone?
Not
Or
bad feelings. Do you personally feel bad or feel some remorse for the victims in these cases?
None of the people are victims. So
Are you the victim? Is that what you're
no,
saying?
I'm not saying I'm a victim at all. I'm not saying that at all. I'm an instrument in God's hands. The victims that you call victims are not victims. Tammy died of natural causes.
The coroner disagreed with
Tylee,
that. The coroner
which
said-
coroner are you talking about? The one the
Brenda
state put
died.
on?
Brenda died, the county
Okay.
coroner,
Okay.
who said she was asphyxiated. So aren't her kids victims?
Okay, no. Do her kids feel like they're victims? No, they don't. They understand the truth. But let me
What
tell you
about her
something.
siblings?
Let me tell you something about Brenda Dye for a second. Let's go back to that because you said the coroner, and that is not even a true
She
statement.
originally ordered it as natural causes. You're right.
Oh, thank you, Nate. A
But-
fact,
but
a true fact.
Then they
Okay.
exhumed her body the day before Alex died, which
Okay.
looks suspicious with Alex's death. They exhumed her body and they said, no, she had the marks.
Did you hear what you just said?
What?
Looks suspicious. Who exhumed her? Why did they exhume her when she had a natural death?
So you're saying,
Why did they exhume her when she had a natural death? What was the explanation for exhuming her when she had a natural death from the coroner? The coroner said it. Why?
because you and Chad were under investigation and they thought that you all might have killed her.
Why? Because of Heather Daybell and what she said at the very beginning and called you up to say? That's
Heather-
exactly where you're getting
Heather
it.
Daybell
That's
did
where
not
you're
call me.
getting
Heather
it.
Daybell-
I didn't say she called you. She called you through
I didn't talk to
Detective
Detective Hope at all.
Did you talk to Hermosillo?
I don't remember talking to Hermosillo. The tip I got when you were in Hawaii was from none of those people.
It was before we went to Hawaii. It's before you went to Hawaii. How'd you get a
We-
tip before you showed up in
we-
Hawaii? You obviously had a tip before you
We
showed up
found
in
out about
Hawaii.
this case
Yeah.
when the police sent out a news release. And then somebody random, I still to this day don't know, and I swear to you, to this day, we got a Facebook message from an anonymous account with a GPS location of where you and Chad were. I
Someone
swear to
did
you.
no, you were in an interview with someone. I did see a tiny little piece of an interview. I think you had Hermosillo and someone in an interview, and they were saying, didn't someone call you up and say, this is going to be the biggest story of your life, Nate Eaton?
Oh, a police detective did tell me that. Yeah. And it's no, but it's not.
Who was it?
It's not the people that you named. It's a source. So
You're not going to tell me.
It's like, once again, I don't have to tell you. I almost spit out my aqua fresca at her. None are victims. I mean, it's not tracking. It's not tracking.
Your source, but you know everything about me,
Back
but
to
you're
the
not going to
question.
tell me your source.
There's a lot I don't know about you, Lori. Back to the question of you don't feel bad. You're saying none of these people are victims.
I
Kay
can't
and
add,
Larry
of
aren't
course.
victims. Brandon's not a victim.
I'm not saying that people haven't had hard things happen to them in their life. Everyone has hard things happen to them in their life, right? The judicial system plays up the victim thing pretty big, right? We've seen it happen.
As in, like, protects victims. Because the part of the story that I skipped is she's like, nobody did anything for me, the judicial system. It's like, okay, well, they're supposed to be standing and fighting for victims, which is what they did in all these cases. John said, what broader impact does this case have on religious extremism? Given the case's focus on Vallow Daybell's doomsday beliefs, the public might ask how her actions reflect broader issues of religious extremism / behavior. No. So here's what I'll say. Just a couple of thoughts right off the top of my head. Number one, this is not the first case that has been high profile, big time news, based around a twisted version of religion. Number two, religion is not the only thing. And some people are religious in this chat and some people are not. Some people believe it, some people don't. If you do believe it, there's definitely going to be things about your religion that people disagree with or think is weird or crazy or how could you ever believe that? And that's all understandable for anybody that does have religious beliefs like I do. Some people would probably think they were crazy or disagree with them or whatever it may be. But religion, like so many other things, it can be good, it can be bad, it can be twisted. Think about all of the major motives for most of the crimes committed, right? Money can be good. Money can be really bad. Money can make people do crazy things. Love can be good. Love can be bad if you have the wrong definition or you think you love somebody, you think you know what love looks like or what type of love you want, the type of love you can't have, the type of love you force, and the type of love that makes you commit crimes, right? It can be twisted into a bad thing. And religion falls in that too. If you twist it all up like Lori Vallow does, this is where you end up, right? We've got Kool-Aid and we've got the Branch Davidians. I can't remember what I remember the show with Riggins that talked about it. I mean, there's way too many examples of this from my perspective. But people will make any excuse to do what they want, frankly.
The people who lost their children, I lost my children. I lost them.
But people, because of what you did.
What did I do to them?
You didn't lose your children, you took them. Like, that's the difference here. That's the difference here.
Arranged with Alex to conspire to kill them.
No, I did not.
And
Absolutely not. Absolutely
Did you
not.
know that they were in Chad's backyard? Or
Absolutely
did I?
No, I did not know that. I did not know where they were. Alex told me that he was put them in a safe place. That's what he
So
told
did
me.
you find out at the court at the first trial? Is that,
Alex told you he put him in a safe place. Even the little nuggets that she drops don't make sense that she wasn't involved, right? Because all of the way that she twists this all up could easily lead you to believe, oh, she actually did do it. She just thinks it's okay because she's a vessel. That's like the most plausible ending to all of this, which again is like, yeah, that's what we all think. We all think you're that too. We all think you did that too.
that the first time you'd seen those autopsy photos?
Yeah, I hadn't ever seen them. I never looked at them before that because that's not how I picture my children. I know where they are in heaven. I know what they're doing. They have come to visit me. So I don't see them as bones. If anybody dies and you go to a cemetery and you dig them up 9 months later, you're not going to like what you find. It's not going to be
They're
pretty.
not going to look like that, Lori. They're not going to
I'm
look
saying
like Tylee.
anybody isn't going to look like that. I'm saying once your spirit leaves your body and goes to heaven, okay? Because I died, right? When I was giving birth to Tylee, I died. And my spirit left my body. And guess what happened? When you're out of your body and you're your real self and your eternal self and who you are, you could care less what happens to your body. I've had that experience. Chad's had that experience. There's others that have had that experience. So the body dies. Everyone's dying, right? We're all going to die. Our bodies are all going to go back to the earth where they were from. And we carry on. We move on. So my children are in their eternity. They're doing well. They're happy. They're moving on. They don't want me to be sad. They came to me because they don't want me to be sad. They said, Mom, you didn't do anything wrong.
I got one last question for you.
Sure.
There's a lot of people that say I shouldn't have interviewed you. Well, they don't know I've interviewed you, but they say that you don't deserve the platform because of what you've done, what you've been found guilty of.
I like that he asked this question as well.
Do they have a point?
In this unfair judicial system, anybody could be found guilty of anything. And I would say to the people, I would say, be careful who you're judging, because anybody could end up in orange. You could be living your little life in the suburban bubble like I was, and anybody could end up in orange. Anybody, because they can turn this on anybody. There's women in here, beautiful, smart, intelligent women that have had their children die, and they're family tragedies, and they're not crimes. And the state has turned them into crimes, and they're not crimes. And what I got accused of and convicted of, just like the 3 Nephites, what crime did they commit that they got 7 death penalties for? What crime did they commit that they got 7 death penalties for? I'm in good company. I'm in good company, and in heaven I will be in their company. And I didn't do anything that deserves this kind of punishment. But God did want me here. He did want me in here with these women. And he wanted me to lift and strengthen women and uplift them in these family tragedies. There's women in here that have suffered the same things I have. They've been here for years, waiting to go to trial. They haven't even gone to trial yet. But it's an unfair system, and they probably will get convicted. And then we'll see each other at the prison, and we'll uplift each other there until Jesus comes. And when he comes, he's going to set everybody in the prisons free. And all those who are unjustly and wrongfully convicted, like me and like these others, we will be walking free on this earth, and we will be walking with Jesus, and that's what we're going to do.
Okay, I have 15 cards, but I'm getting the wrap. So thank you, Lori, for chatting with me, and maybe we can chat again.
Maybe we can
another
do it again sometime.
time. Thank you. Happy birthday. See ya.
M&Ms. Can I have M&Ms? No? Are you guys going to meet soon?
She asked for the M&Ms. They said no, she doesn't get the M&Ms. So weird. But somebody was saying a lot of people are mad at Nate for doing this interview. People have to realize, same thing, a lot of people are mad at defense attorneys that defend people that end up getting convicted of crimes or admit to it or take a plea deal. It's like, this is part of the life that we have and the jobs that we do, and a lot of good can come from it. And Nate's going to learn a lot from this. And maybe he's going to break the next story and catch the next person doing something like this, or have some involvement in helping get them. And that could be a very good thing. We should all want that. To me, that interview was so weird, and she is so strange, and she didn't say much of anything of value, but you don't know that going into the interview, right? Thank you, Sandy, for donating 10 memberships. You can call her a liar because she is. You'll know exactly when she's lying because her lips are moving. Additionally, it's the same thing as platforming any of these trials, right? Any of these defendants that are on trial, like the world watching them, are they going to become famous? And it's like, all of it is a balance. All of it is balance, and we could bury our heads and do nothing and talk about nothing, and then we're not helping anybody or whatever it may be. And from my perspective, like, I've had people in my life say, oh, I can't bank with this bank, or I can't, buy this because this person, they invest with this and with this. It's like, you can make yourself crazy with that, as opposed to you make the decisions to do what you believe to be right, what you believe to be good, to help people, to help society at large, to make yourself a better person and the people around you better, and to learn and teach. All of that is really important, and people should try to do that. Now, if you're just watching it to like glorify Lori Vallow and you think she's amazing and you just can't wait to buy her book, okay, yeah, that's not how you should be watching this. I don't think that's how many people are watching this. But again, I understand, and I understand people view things differently, and that's important too. And we can talk about it and why you think he shouldn't have. And, all of that perspective is fine and open conversation, but to condemn somebody like Nate for doing an interview like this, to me, is just, you're missing the point. He's one of the good ones in this story. He's one of the good ones in this process, and we'll hear more from him, and we can ask him those questions. And if he regrets it, and if he'd go back, we can ask him that tomorrow when he comes on. If you guys want to, I'm fine with that. And he's a big boy. I think he can answer those questions. And I think he thought about it and did what he believed to be his right. And you're still going to mess up doing that, right? As people, that's why we give grace, because we need it. And we still make mistakes when we try to do what's right, but we should always try to do what's right. All right. That's all I got. I can't wait to go to sleep. All of you as well. Hit that like button, please, and make sure you're subscribed. If anybody else watched this video and wants my take, share it with them, because this was it, the one-shot deal. Till next time, I'm out of here. Thanks for watching another episode of The Lawyer You Know. If you enjoyed the episode, please hit the thumbs up and share with your friends who may be interested here on YouTube. And don't forget to subscribe. You can also follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok. And don't forget to check out the Lawyer You Know podcast, with new seasons dropping every quarter. If you have a case you want to talk to us about, if it's a personal injury case, wrongful death, catastrophic injury, car accident, or slip and fall case, please email us at lawyeryouknow@gmail.com. And of course, all these links I just mentioned are included in the description below on this episode and every episode. So until next time, this is Peter Tragos, the Lawyer You Know.